It is 2020 and the new rules to make YouTube COPPA compliant are to be in effect. This is going to be a slightly different video for me. I have been noticing on social media that tons of people are still misunderstanding this and getting tons of things wrong. As content creators, we must know this law, which has been around for a pretty long time. We also need to make sure we follow the parts of the law that we directly control, because yes, there is more than just clicking made for kids or not made for kids. COPPA is a law, and you can't just say you didn't know. That won't work, and you could still be fined. There are lots of people saying that January 1st has already happened, and YouTube didn't get rid of all kid content. They never said that that was what was going to happen. That the FTC hasn't fined anyone. That won't happen for probably about a year. That they don't need to worry about it because the FTC can't hit everyone. In time, they can. And if Congress wants to increase their budget, they will. Also, they can hit you at any time with this. So the current commissioners might not do an all-out attack, but the next ones might. You have to know what to do so those things don't happen to you in the future. The good news is there is some time and a possible rework of the law may be coming, but that will be years from now. This is going to be a video about how my family personally believes channels can best prepare for COPPA, as well as I'm going to talk about how my channel personally stands with COPPA. There has been a ton of confusion and a ton of different videos, and we'll link some of the best ones below. We do have multiple calls into the FTC, and I have tweeted at them a lot. I've been trying to get a hold of them since before Thanksgiving, but they still haven't called back yet, so we can ask for the clarification that we wanted on some of the issues and see how the FTC are really viewing things. I wanted to get this video out before the new year, but there were a few things we really wanted clarified. I thought they would have called me back by now, but apparently since I'm not an adult male, it looks like they really don't care. But we even think that YouTube is not quite understanding COPPA, and they are using pretty bad language that is causing even more confusion. So we will discuss this some as well. In this video, I will not talk about the problems with COPPA, why it's a bad law, or even how in certain circumstances it harms kids more than the claim of protection, because it does. What we are going to focus on is how to mark your channel, if your channel is general audience or not, what you have to look for in comments, no matter what kind of channel you have, as well as how to figure out about how much money could possibly be affected for every type of channel, as well as other things like if you run contests, etc. Obviously, I am not a lawyer, and neither is anyone in my immediate family. But my family has gone through all of the videos, all the legal documents, the settlement, etc. And my dad did at one point run with the intent to be on the ballot for California governor, so he has some experience in reading laws. But again, this is not to be viewed as legal advice. This is just to be helpful to have a central location of as much correct information as possible. In this video, I'll also be explaining some of the definitions in the law and what they actually mean. I'll also try to explain how the FTC is viewing content creators according to the law. Throughout this video, I will be referencing the COPPA law and other documentation so you understand why we say what we're saying and why this is the advice we're giving. If any lawyer provides me with corrections, or if the FTC finally actually calls me back, I'll post those in the description below so us content creators have the most accurate information possible. We're not going to review the history of COPPA, we're just going to talk about what's important to content creators. So, let's get started. Under COPPA, no personal information can be knowingly collected from a child online without parental consent. This is the main reason of the bill, but you really must understand all of the little things about it. What can be collected by who, and what you are responsible for so you don't get hit with a fine or worse. According to COPPA, a child is a person 12 and under. In the United States, that is some 7th graders. Some are 12 and some are 13. What websites have to comply and why are YouTube creators having to worry about this? All operators of websites that collect data from anyone that could be a child in the US has to comply with COPPA. Also, any operator of an online service. This includes any app, any business that offers their services online, any selling site, and any social media, gaming company, etc. You might think, okay, but that is for YouTube. They're the ones that own the site. They operate it. A creator isn't the operator of the site. You would be wrong. Here is what the law says an operator is in its definitions. Operator means any person who operates a website located on the internet or an online service and who collects or maintains personal information from or about the users of or visitors to such website or online service, or on whose behalf such information is collected or maintained, or offers products or services for sale through that website or online service, where such website or online service is operated for commercial purposes involving commerce among the several states or with one or more foreign nations, in any territory of the United States or in the District of Columbia, or between any such territory and another such territory or any state or foreign nation, or between the District of Columbia and any state, territory, or foreign nation. So that is a lot of ors and very hard to follow. So to break that down, the first part means anyone who operates a website or online service that collects or maintains personal information on its users. In law, the word or means either, and especially if it comes after a comma, it breaks up the sentence to mean a new thing. So not including, but on its own. It's kind of like a period, but not exactly. And what I'm about to say is the important part for content creators, or on whose behalf such information is collected or maintained. This is the first line the FTC is saying fits a creator. They are viewing us as an operator and that YouTube is collecting this data on our behalf. In the same definition, the last line gives a clearer view of what fits under on behalf of. Personal information is collected or maintained on behalf of an operator when 1. It is collected or maintained by an agent or service provider of the operator, or 2. The operator benefits by allowing another person to collect personal information directly from users of such website or online service. With this, it is very clear to see this is where the FTC is coming from. They are saying YouTube is the service provider and an operator, but they're also saying that we are an operator, and as I said, YouTube is a service provider for us. If you use creator as operator for the second part, a creator benefits through payment by allowing YouTube to collect personal information directly from users of YouTube. Now, what kind of websites are there? Remember that your channel and each video on your channel is considered by the FTC as separate websites. At least that's what appears how they're seeing it. According to COPPA, there are 3 kinds of websites which people have called general audience, directed to children, and mixed audience. Let's look at each one. General audience only shows up once in the language of COPPA, and there is no definition given. The one place it is in is section 312.4 subsection D. In there, it gives where the notice must be posted on a general audience webpage. To understand general audience, you have to look at FAQs and other writings they have done. The FTC views a general audience as any site that is not directed to those 12 and under. There is some confusion of what that means. What exactly does directed at kids mean? It is different for each kid. Since I was 7 years old, I was on multiple university websites to learn more about astrophysics. That makes general audience very hard to define. Directed at children is the main focus of COPPA. According to the FTC, if you are targeting kids with what they see as child content, or if you know you have children 12 and under on your site and you are collecting data, that is directed at children. And like I said, this includes if YouTube does collect a child's data on your behalf. We will discuss more of are your videos made for kids later. This is where we'll describe as close as we can what the FTC is looking at. Last is mixed audience. Again, this is a wording choice that is not in the COPPA law itself at all. There is a definition for mixed audience website within the definition of website or online service directed to children in COPPA, but it doesn't actually say mixed audience. It reads in section 3. A website or online service that is directed to children under the criteria set forth in paragraph 1 of this definition, but that does not target children as its primary audience, shall not be deemed directed to children if it, subsection 1, does not collect personal information from any visitor prior to collecting age information, and, subsection 2, prevents the collection, use, or disclosure of personal information from visitors who identify themselves as under age 13 without first complying with the notice and parental consent provisions of this part. This is what people are referring to when they talk about mixed audience. Simply put, general is 13 and above, directed at kids is 12 and under, and mixed is a website that has a portion that is directed to children, but they are not its primary audience. Where it is easy to simply say that, it's a lot more complicated in reality to understand what those definitions really mean. By now you're probably wondering if your videos will be seen by the FTC as child-directed in the light of the settlement between them and YouTube as well as the actual law. Are your videos directed to kids or made for kids? YouTube has made a bad decision when giving the options for made for kids and not made for kids. As Hogue Law from Virtual Legality has said, YouTube should have used the same wording that is within the COPPA law, and that is directed to kids or not directed to kids. This might seem like a subtle difference, but it is important in law. Made for kids could mean family friendly, but directed to kids means they are the main target audience. The law views the content they are focusing on is that which is directed to kids. What that means is that anyone 12 and under is your primary target of your website, channel, or videos. Most people are able to figure out content directed at toddlers, maybe even elementary school students, but it gets way more confusing as you get to a 12-year-old. The law states this in definitions. Website or online service directed to children means a commercial website or online service or portion thereof that is targeted to children. 1. In determining whether a website or online service or a portion thereof is directed to children, the Commission will consider its subject matter, visual content, use of animated characters or child-oriented activities and incentives, music or other audio content, age of models, presence of child celebrities or celebrities who appeal to children, language or other characteristics of the website or online service, as well as whether advertising, promoting, or appearing on the website or online service is directed to children. The Commission will also consider competent and reliable empirical evidence regarding audience composition and evidence regarding the intended audience. As you can see, my family and I were very concerned about this because I'm just two of the things by existing. The FTC has stated this is vague but clear enough, and by looking at their examples of cases they have brought and examples they used, you can get a clear idea of what they're looking for. The problem is the examples they give included groups that targeted high school students. They have also mentioned some that are in the gray area. As well as it seems they have stated that things like Pokemon at first could target kids, but as their audience grows, it then is no longer as directed at kids, but adults, which just adds to the confusion. The simple way we're looking at it is if your content is for middle school age and below, it might be good to mark your stuff directed for kids or made for kids. Think of it if you're going to hold a class or a show in the real world. What group do you want to be sitting in front of you? If you would say 12 and under, mark it made for kids. But honestly, the FTC needs to be clearer on this. So, does the FTC consider everyone that goes to a child-directed website a child? Well, yes, they do, based on comments they have made publicly as well as the answers they have given on their FAQ's website. However, the text of the COPPA law does not say this, nor does it say that parents or adults cannot make accounts on child-directed sites, nor does it prohibit the collection of data on those parents or adults. The statement by the FTC can be found in their Complying with COPPA Frequently Asked Questions from March 2015, Section E, Question 4. However, operators of websites or online services that are primarily directed to children, as defined by the rule, must assume that the person uploading a photo is a child. The definition stated in the rule, website or online service directed to children, does not say the operator has to assume anything. This is a deceptive comment by the FTC, but we should comply with it because this is how they are viewing this. Now, we need to understand what is meant by information collected from a child. What information cannot be collected from a child? Information that isn't allowed to be collected from a child without parental consent includes an image of the child, sound recordings, videos, name, a username that then can be tracked, address, city, telephone number, social security number, and any geolocation. This is only if a child posts this. Any adult can post all of these about any child with no issues. COPPA literally only deals with collection of a child's data from a child. If you have a child-directed website or a portion of one on the area that is child-directed, you must, according to the FTC, assume that the poster is a child unless you have verified that the user is age 13 and above with an age gate or something else similar. In 2013, the FTC added other things no website provider can collect by the law. Some are listed above, but the main one that is causing problems for operators is Section 7 of the definition of personal information. A persistent identifier that can be used to recognize a user over time and across different websites or online services. Such persistent identifier includes, but is not limited to, a customer number held in a cookie, an internet protocol address, a processor or device serial number, or unique device identifier. This means no tracking even as a cookie. YouTube was collecting this on users not logged in. This is a violation of COPPA, but this is also why many of the features will go away when you mark your videos made for kids. The YouTube algorithm doesn't work without tracking. What about mixed audience? Is YouTube misunderstanding mixed audience? Yes. The third type of website, mixed audience, is something many have said would be the best option. At first, we too thought this wasn't the option given, and some FTC commissioners stated the same, which kind of shows they don't overly know their own settlement. They didn't understand why YouTube wasn't giving a third option, the mixed audience, as a selection. After going over this for a long time, we think that is the option that was given and the only way YouTube would have been able to continue business. Yet we also don't think YouTube or all of its employees are understanding this. As I said earlier, mixed audience is mentioned under the definition, website or online service directed to children means a commercial website or online service or portion thereof that is targeted to children. Section 3. A website or online service that is directed to children under the criteria set forth in paragraph 1 of this definition, but that does not target children as its primary audience, shall not be deemed directed to children if it, subsection 1, does not collect personal information from any visitor prior to collecting age information and, subsection 2, prevents the collection, use, or disclosure of personal information from visitors who identify themselves as under age 13 without first complying with the notice and parental consent provisions of this part. YouTube has said part of the settlement is why they will no longer track and give behavioral ads to those not logged into YouTube. That is covered by subsection 2 from this definition. By them also not tracking anyone on kid-directed portions of the website, as in videos or channels, that also would comply. If you think of each video as its own web page, or like my channel where I have different shows, then by marking each video separately gives you a mixed audience compliance. For YouTube to still say it is general audience doesn't make sense, being the choices given shows that some content is made for kids. If they only collect data on users logged in, this is a mixed audience option. This fits with what Creekcraft was told by an attorney at the FTC, that if your content is targeted for, say, 10 to 20-year-olds, you would mark not made for kids. Because those logged in, it would be up to YouTube to handle those accounts the proper way. The FTC is viewing YouTube as a mixed audience site. So, they now will look at each portion and decide if it is directed at kids or not. What you need to do is look at each video as a separate web page. If all of your videos are directed to kids, then you mark your channel as made for kids. If all of your videos are not directed to kids, then you mark your channel as not made for kids, and you need to watch your comments. If your channel has both, you need to mark the videos that are directed at kids as made for kids, and those that aren't as not made for kids, and you need to watch your comments too. It is scary that YouTube isn't seeing this, because we must trust them to follow other parts of the law that are out of our control. Does COPPA affect all channels? Yes. We'll explain why every single website needs to follow rules set forth in COPPA. It is true COPPA is for directed at kids, but also if you know you have kids on your site. If you ever had a fan come up and say they love your stuff and they are under 12, well, you may be in trouble. The FTC has never gone after someone for one kid watching, but it would be illegal to do so. Technically, it would be unconstitutional not to, because of the 14th Amendment, which states, "nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws." The other part of COPPA that affects all channel owners is the without tracking and behavioral ads enabled for users not logged in, then those users will only get contextual ads. So now everyone's revenues will fall. We believe you might be able to figure out about how much you will lose by using the analytics of your page. If you go into the reach section, there you have traffic source external. This is the amount of views you get of those that might not be logged in. For my channel, the last 28 days, it is 10.8% of my views. We don't know for sure how Google does videos on search. If someone is logged in already on their YouTube, does that count? So this is worst case numbers. If I was monetized, I would have to take that 10% and know that I'd only be getting 10% of what I normally do on those ads. No less than 90% of my ads would be behavioral, and somewhere 10% and lower would be contextual. That is if all of my videos were marked not made for kids. If you have mixed, you have a lot more math to do. You would have to look at each video to figure it out. If your whole channel is made for kids, all your ad money goes down to 10% of what you were making before. Other changes you will see is if your content is directed to kids is you will be losing comments, notifications, and you will get no behavioral ads, but you will get contextual ads. YouTube made these changes because the FTC has said that we must assume that anyone that views directed to kids videos is a child under the age of 13, even though this is not stated anywhere in the law. The reason why all this stuff goes away is because no personal information can be tracked for kids. And YouTube only works by tracking your information through the algorithm. Also, this brings us to the next section, because there are things that every single channel owner must do besides just mark their videos to comply with COPPA. What do you have to do to make sure you're COPPA compliant? First, to see if your content is directed at kids or not, but there is some more you need to be aware of. If your channel or videos are general audience, meaning they are marked as not made for kids, you must pay attention to your comments. If you see any child giving info, you must delete that message. So if you have someone that says, "I am Dawn and 12 years old," you are to handle the response through the rules set forth by COPPA. Being we have no way of doing the part of parental notification, you have to delete the comment. If you're a larger channel, you don't necessarily have to do that if you don't know it's there. But if you reply to that comment or where it can be shown you know it is there, at that point you could be fined if it isn't deleted right away. On January 2nd, I checked one of my videos that was marked as made for kids, and comments were still active. If you have a smaller channel with content made for kids, I would highly suggest that you change your settings so that all comments are held for review. So then you can really make sure that a comment doesn't show up and then you can get fined. As I said earlier, for the bigger channels, you may be okay as long as you don't show that you know about it. One of the exceptions to this is for a child's safety. For that, you can send the information like the child's name and get the parent's info to send to the right authorities, but this is the messed up part. You must, to sum up section 312.4 subsection C, tell parents you collected the names and contact information to protect a child's safety. Tell the parents the information won't be used or disclosed for any other purpose. Tell parents they may refuse to permit the use of the contact information and require you to delete it. And hyperlink to your privacy policy. Yes, that includes if it is the parents that are the reason the child is not safe. The parents will still have to be notified before you notify the authorities. This information is taken from the FTC Children's Online Privacy Protection Rule, a 6-step compliance plan for your business, on this website for the FTC last updated 2017. It gives a whole chart, limited exceptions to COPPA's verifiable parent consent requirement. I will have that link below. There is a one-time request for more information. So if a child asks you for some help, you could answer, but after you are to delete any of their information from your website, what would delete their comment? You also cannot use this to ever contact them again. It is just best to delete their request and not answer it. We suggest you read through all the exceptions, but you will see it is best to not converse with any account that you think may be a child's. We hope the FTC will contact us for better clarification on this as well. Also, be careful of asking people to enter contests that are underage. On the FTC page, a guide for business and parents in small entity compliance guide, a question was asked about an app that allowed paintings to be shared through a click button to another social media account like Twitter. This is the answer. Yes, the COPPA rule defines collection to including requesting, prompting, or encouraging a child to submit personal information online and enabling a child to make personal information publicly available in identifiable form. In addition, under the COPPA rule, disclosure includes making a child's personal information publicly available in identifiable form through an email service or other means, such as a social network. You must get verifiable parental consent before enabling children to share personal information in this manner, even through third parties on your app. So make sure to be careful of prompting or encouraging a child to submit personal information online, even to other sites. What is the punishment if you violate COPPA? According to the FTC, this is what so far has been said. The FTC can fine you for up to $42,530 per violation. They have never done this, though. At first, they will probably send you a letter notifying you that you are in violation of COPPA and give a time frame in which to correct that violation. If they do fine you after that, they have said that they will take into consideration your financial situation so that the fine is extensive but should not bankrupt you. What will YouTube do? They have said that for anyone that mismarks their videos, that they may delete the channel and all videos. So it is bad, but not all bad. What is going to happen with my channel? Trying to figure out what to do with my channel and the different shows is one of the reasons why it's taken me so long to put this video out. Almost everything on 7 Sage Labs should be safe. For now, Science Sage is on hold until we can get a hold of the FTC or also YouTube to get some questions answered. For the Steam shop, some of the videos could be hit as directed to kids, so I went ahead and marked those videos that way, but all the others are marked not directed to kids. We had some toy reviews to help people for Christmas that didn't go out because we weren't for sure how to do them. The FTC has said that for things like toy reviews, it matters on who you are talking to. If you say, hey, this would be a good toy for your kid, it is a general audience. If you say, this is a great toy for you kids out there, they view it as directed to children. This is how silly this all is. The video could be 100% the same except for those lines and they may hit you for it. Basically, the FTC has said if you want to be safe, don't ever do anything for kids or you can't use behavioral ads. You can't function like a normal business. It is punishing those that want to help kids while doing nothing to protect data about a kid, just data from a kid. One of my plans right now is I might be making a second channel that will be directed to kids, because education and access to knowledge is a fundamental right for all people, not just people 13 and up. My options for the toy reviews are to do them on the adult channel and change the openings and endings to direct it to adults, or do a more mixed kind of thing and mark them as directed to kids on here. The thing is, a lot of those videos I do to everyone who might want to buy it, and I know a lot of adults who love Legos. But for right now, we're going to keep doing what we have been doing for the toy reviews of marking them for kids, so if you go on them and see that there's no comments, that's why. This kid channel that I'm thinking of is where most of the toy and kit reviews would probably go, as well as the early science videos that would have been Science Sage. In time, I'll have that show split as well, unless I can get a hold of anyone at the FTC and they tell me something that allows me to keep it all together on one channel. One of the hardest problems with trying to figure this out is there are things that 7th graders are learning that some adults haven't been learning, and we were hoping that they would be able to find it and learn it too. Now that we understand the law a little bit better though, we will be putting out more videos soon, so be ready for those notifications. So about those more videos, I'm wondering what you all are interested in because I have a lot of ideas. One is all the problems with COPPA. If you look at a lot of it, it harms and hinders kids a lot more than it protects them. As well as if you use the same thought process that a creator is an operator, technically everyone's phones is a violation of COPPA. Also, the addition to COPPA in 2013 made it that any form of AI is basically banned from kids' use without the parent consent listed in COPPA. That includes Netflix and even personal things like Alexa, which then would be illegal to have on when you have company over. So that's one video I can do to show all the problems, which there is a lot of them. Another video that I can do is read the 8-page letter that we sent to the FTC when they had the comment section open for their settlement with YouTube. Most of the letter did deal with how COPPA is a problem, specifically with YouTube. However, there was also a lot of extra stuff with it as well, like how the FTC has broken COPPA themselves. Yep, they did, and we found them doing it, as well as other federal websites. Along with discussing the problems with COPPA, there is also the discriminatory enforcement of COPPA. I talked a little about this in my letter. The examples the FTC gave and referenced documentation about YouTube channels were mostly gender neutral or female-directed content. Things that were not in the letter were how religious sites directed at kids have never been brought up on COPPA violations, such as VeggieTales. The FTC definitely has some discrimination problems. I can also talk about how people can use COPPA to attack others that they don't agree with or like. I have already seen people threatening to use COPPA on social media. Along with the advocacy groups, some of them have admitted they went after YouTube because they just don't like it. There's also doing a video on the science behind behavioral ads versus contextual ads, and how they work a lot differently than people think, and which one is actually better. Technically, contextual ads can be as manipulative, and if I do that video, I can talk about that. We also could go through your questions if you have any and answer them for clarity, with maybe going through some of the misconceptions online about what this means for YouTube. These are all video options that I can do to help explain COPPA better and how we're going to be affected by this, in YouTube and out of YouTube. And if the FTC calls me back at some point, I might do a video on that as well to talk about what they tell me. So comment below if you're interested in any of these videos. So, what's next for the FTC, YouTube, and content creators? Well, first of all, hopefully the FTC calls me back. But their next step overall is looking at all the comments that were sent in, which will probably take at least 6 months because there was just so many. Then they'll start looking at the reports against different channels, which will take a little bit of time for them to go through those. The way that the FTC marks a violation is that 3 of the commissioners have to agree that it is a violation, and then they'll send you the letter letting you know that it's a violation. So the first violations will probably pop up at around August of 2020 or later, all the way until 2021, unless they choose to rewrite COPPA during that time. At some point in 2020, they will bring out the revisions of COPPA that they are suggesting, and there will be another public comment during this time. I will be watching carefully if they do post the comments, and I will talk about the new information they release when that happens. I also hope that YouTube figures out that they can do kid accounts. It's obvious they have a mixed audience platform, and then doing that could make things a lot easier on creators. Because those kids' accounts could have their comments blocked and have no behavioral ads. Plus, even though COPPA didn't ask for this, YouTube can make it that parents can restrict genre of things like vlogs, but keep science channels on the kids' accounts, and then can send the parents a video history of what the kid is watching. I also hope that YouTube asks for more money for ads that are on kid-directed content, since that is a very targeted demographic. That would also help the creators that make kid-directed content, because as of right now, a good amount of them has just been put out of business. This is something very personal to me. My whole life I have been held back and affected by COPPA and other kinds of age restrictions. The FTC and people in the federal government and the advocacy groups have talked about raising the age to 15 or even 18. I'm 15 right now. I really hope that my followers and other people stay very aware of what will happen in the future with COPPA, and try to understand just because something is called the Children Online Privacy Protection Act doesn't mean that's actually what it does.